Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Mr. Outlaw, and let me ask you something. Do you struggle with making nickel coils for your DNA40 temperature control device? You know, I have a hard time with this sometimes where I use that nickel, and the nickel is so soft that my coils fall apart. Well, I have a coil build for you, so let's get into it. So I've been messing with some different types of nickel builds, trying different types of coils, doing double coils, doing some twists, things like that. And it's really been a struggle. The problem that I found is the ohms drop too low when you try to do double coils. So I've decided with the nickel build, stick with single coils. So I really wanted to figure out a way that I can increase my flavor and also have that coil be a little bit more sturdy for re-wicking it and moving it around, things like that. The problem I found was when I started doing twists, the ohms once again were too low and I needed like 15 or 16 wraps. So here's what we're going to do. What I started doing was taking a 28 gauge nickel wire and twisting it with a 30 gauge Kanthal. And I have to tell you, the incredible flavor and vapor that I am getting off of this build is bar none my best experience with the nickel builds yet. It's incredible. I've got a Troll RDA here and I've got it at 0.1 ohms and we're going to vape it at 21.7 watts and I have it set for 440 degrees. And it's just incredible flavor. It's awesome. It really is awesome. And I can tell you, it's the best flavor I've gotten off of it. One of the reasons I don't like to use my Troll RDA is because I don't get the flavor that I want. But using this twist, it's really working out. It's giving me incredible flavor. So you may be saying to yourself, Mr. Outlaw, I don't understand. How can you take nickel wire and twist it with Kanthal wire and still have the temperature control work? It's very simple. Electricity is very much like water. It's going to follow the path of least resistance. So if you have a nickel wire and you have a Kanthal wire and you twist them together, the electricity is going to follow the path of least resistance. The nickel wire has a lower resistance than the Kanthal wire, so the electricity is going to go through the nickel wire. The reason we're going to twist it with Kanthal wire is to have a sturdier coil. This way you have more of that shape. It's going to hold our shape. It's going to be easier to work with. So take a look at this. I have a piece of nickel, I have a piece of Kanthal, and I have a piece I have twisted. If you look here, and I know you're not going to be able to really tell on a camera, but look at how the nickel wire is. It's very soft. It kind of molds, it bends. It's kind of hard to work with. When you take your Kanthal, it's much sturdier. It's a stronger, harder wire. So when I twist them together, I get that result. See, look at that. So let's take a vape right here, and then we'll get into how to actually build this coil. It's a warm, satisfying, dense vape. I can taste all of the juice. It's incredible. You're going to love doing this build, and the best part is it's super simple. So let's get into making the wire and making the coil. Here's what you're going to need to do this. You're going to need a drill with some type of an Allen key or something put in it. Clippers, a screwdriver with a 3mm rod or whatever rod you're going to use, 30 gauge Kanthal wire, 28 gauge nickel wire. I use my Coil Master with a 3mm bit, and you're going to need some type of pliers to hold the wire. Now let me apologize right here. The audio got screwed up when I was recording this, so we're going to voice over this part. We're going to take some 30 gauge Kanthal, about 1.5 yards, and just kind of clip it off. And then we're going to do the same thing with our 28 gauge nickel. And the way I do this is I kind of just grab the two ends together, maybe twist them a little bit to just kind of hold it, and then I'm going to try to measure it out this way. You don't have to do it this way, but I really just prefer to not waste my wire. So once I do that, I just kind of clip it off there. The next thing we're going to do is kind of just bend and twist one of the ends, because that's the end we're going to put into our drill on the end of the Allen key. So we'll just kind of bend it up, twist it so we can get a little bit of a loop like this. And then we'll go ahead and we're going to put it on our Allen key. So just take your drill, just kind of slip it on there. And you may want to just twist the other side. Then we're just going to kind of pull it straight and remove all the slack. You want to have those wires, you know, pretty close to, you know, the same exact length and have them nice in tension. Then on the other end, we're going to do the same thing, kind of twist and bend. And then you're going to grab it with your pliers. And then all we're going to do is pull it nice and snug and start our drill. You just start off nice and slow at first, and then just keep going. And I like to go until it breaks. So now it's snapped off there, so we just kind of put it back into the chuck since we had a nice little piece on the end, and we're just going to keep going again until it gets nice and tight, and so I can have a nice even spacing. And once it breaks, I've got it right where I want, just kind of like that. And then I'll just run my hand down to make sure it's nice and smooth with no bumps. Now we can go ahead and build the coil, and I'm going to use a 3mm rod. Shooting for 1.4 ohms, I'm going to do 6/7 wraps. So I'm just speeding it up a little bit here to make it a little bit faster, and again, so that you don't have to do it. And then just kind of compress down, let them spring back. And then after that, I straighten out my leads, and I like to take my pliers and just kind of make it nice and tight. Pull it and make sure it's nice and tight. And you can see we have a nice set of coils, and we can mess with it a little bit later. Now I'm going to install this on a standard size freak show. So we'll put in each lead, and I put in the center one first, a little bit longer lead than the other side. And then we're going to pull it nice and tight, and then we'll work on getting it over the airflow channel afterwards. Now I have found with having the wire twisted like this, it doesn't tend to break off with the grub nuts, but still be very careful. You want to have a good tight connection, but don't go to the point where you're going to break through the wire. Now we can just kind of push it over a little bit, get it a little bit more over that airflow channel, and we'll mess with the coils once we're done. I'm just trying to check and see how much more I have to move it over, and once I've got it in position, I'll pull this nice and tight, and I'll tighten down this other grub screw. And again, make sure that you don't tighten it to the point where you're going to cut off your leads. You know, you don't want enough pressure, but not too much to break through the lead. And then we'll take a look at it here. And it does need a little bit of work. We got to work on that positive so that we don't have a short over there. So I'll just take my screwdriver. I'll move over the coils a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of just use some pressure and bend it to have like a 90-degree angle. Then I'm going to lift up my coils to have them elevated off the deck. And you can see it. And I would usually work on this a little bit more, but so we don't have an hour video, we won't do that. Now we're just going to take some Kojin dough cotton, cut off about, I don't know, about 2-3 millimeters. You want to have enough, but not too much. You don't want to be super tight. You want it to be loose, but not too loose. And then I'll just kind of peel off a little bit here. I pulled it just a little bit too much. I just want to take a little bit off to make it a little bit fluffier and not so tight. And then I'll take the end. We'll roll it into a little tiny point. Again, just the end. You want to have it nice and fluffy going through the coil. And I'll thread it right through. And when I do this, I kind of like to do like a gentle twist, but not too much. I don't want to twist everything up inside of the coils. And I'm just going to leave one side fairly short, and then we'll snip off the other side. But you can see right about here, just a couple of millimeters off, and then the other side right about here or so is a good spot to do it. Now I'll just kind of gently tuck the one side in. I just want it barely touching the bottom of the deck. And remember with the freak show, you want to make sure that your cotton isn't resting on the lip of the deck. Otherwise you have a chance of leaking, you know, when you start filling it in. And the same thing on the other side. I want to kind of push it down and then spread it in. Keep it fluffy, but make sure you have a decent amount in there. I don't like to overpack my cotton because I just end up wasting juice. You don't end up utilizing it all. Now we can just kind of snip off our leads here. I prefer to use the snippers over a twist and tug method. And then I'll just take my Allen key and tighten down the grub screws. Make sure that they're good and tight and they're not going to go anywhere. It's a very important step with the nickel to make sure you have a good solid connection and those wires aren't going to move. Now we can just go ahead and put it on our device, and I'm going to put it on a Hana Modz V4D. It's the version 4 with double batteries. And you don't want to put this down too tight because of the spring in there. And you can see, look at that. Doesn't burn the cotton, so the temperature control works. And we've got a 0.14 ohm, 410 degrees at 18.6 watts. Now let's go ahead and juice it up. And again, remember, with the freak show, you want to carefully paint on your e-liquid. You don't want to drown it. And then we can, after you get your wick saturated, I like to fill it on the other side. And again, I'm running this in single coil mode. I'm not running it in double coil. And now we can go ahead and fire it up and see how it goes. And look at that. We've got vapor. So let's head back up to FaceTime and finish up the video.
So let's take a vape on it and see how it works. Wow. I thought this build was good on my K-Phone and on my Troll, but on a freak show, it's incredible. The flavor, it's just there. We're vaping this here. We have it at 0.14 ohms. It's at 20 watts. I have it at 420 degrees. It's incredible. It's incredible. Wow. Let's bump that. Let's juice it up a little bit more, and we'll bump that up, and we'll see where we're at when we go up to 40 watts. 40 watts. It's like eating the juice. It's just incredible. I can't say any more about it. It's an incredible build. Go ahead and try it out. I'm telling you, you will be super happy with this build. Please do me a favor, hit the like button down on the bottom. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and until next time, happy vaping.